Live from the Beyond the Light studios, covering a range of topics from general interest to spirituality and the paranormal. You're listening to At the End of the Day with Chuck and Benji on the Beyond the Light radio network. For information regarding all shows offered, visit beyondthelightnetwork.com. Listen live from the beyondthelightnetwork.com shows tab. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter.
All right, welcome everybody to another great concocted show on At the End of the Day with Chuck and Benji. Sit back tonight, turn the music down, get your favorite drink, turn down the lights, and get ready for a truly engaging show. A couple of questions to keep in mind this week. Have you ever lived in a house so haunted that you truly felt as if you would never get out of that abyss? Have you ever seen things fly past you in the dark expanse of the night? What are your thoughts about angels, demons, and aliens? What about spiritual warfare? Tonight, Benji and I will be joined with two of the greatest folks that I know. The spiritual warrior, Bill Bean, and the one and only Wes Forsythe, okay, of Scarefest Radio and much, much more. Two individuals, I'll just throw this out there. I'll make the pudding really thick tonight. These two individuals are two individuals that I highly look up to. They're inspirational leaders in the realm of spiritual warfare and the paranormal. Guys, I just want to welcome you, all to At the End of the Day with Chuck and Benji. But before we get started with our icebreaker questions that we do every week, just tell everybody a little bit about yourselves. And in order for us to keep some type of clarity tonight, I'm going to start with Wes first.
Well, once again, I'm Wes Forsythe. I am a second-rate podcast host. I do Scarefest Radio. I formerly, which I'm sure will come up, did Paranormal Filler. I've been in the paranormal several years. I look at it as more of a spiritual growth experience that took my shows that way. I've taken my own spiritual path that way. But when I'm on the radio, honestly, I'm just a cut up, and I have fun with it.
And I love that. All right, Bill.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you guys for having me on. It's really great to be on with you. Finally, after 3 tries, and I apologize for any inconvenience that I caused in the previous attempts. And Wes, it's also great to be on with you. And for those who don't know me, I'm Bill Bean, and they call me the spiritual warrior. And I travel all over the country helping people to become free from evil and negativity and all things that are bad and not good and things that are keeping people from moving forward in life. And I was once a victim, and my family was destroyed by demonic forces, and I was nearly destroyed as well, but God has transformed me from victim to victor. So that's who I am, and that's what I do.
Fantastic. Now, in order to keep time, because time is going to be a little bit of an issue, especially for you, Bill, what we're going to do is I'm going to ask the 5 questions, and then basically Benji and I will not be responding this week to the questions, only Wes and yourself. So the first question I'm going to start out with Wes, okay, and then Bill, you'll have an opportunity to respond. Now, these end of the day icebreaker question segment I just love because it gives us a chance to relax a little bit as we get into the mode of what our interview is going to be all about. So Wes, here's your first question. What is your greatest achievement?
My greatest achievement, well, to tell you the truth, living past 40 years old, the way I treat my body, just being alive is probably my greatest achievement. I measure my own personal success maybe a little bit too much in the way that people respond to me and the way people, but I do feel like I have helped a lot of people understand the paranormal, understand spirituality, and every time somebody walks up to me at a paranormal convention or something like that and tells me and quotes me some oddball comment I made on the radio 3 years ago, I just my soul lights up. What can I tell you?
That's awesome. All right, Bill. What is your greatest achievement?
Well, again, I can never thank God and praise God enough for what he has done, for what he's doing, and for what he's going to do for me. And I would say the greatest achievement that I have accomplished through God is the gift of God working through me to help others to move forward in life. So that is my life's calling, and I would have to say, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that is my greatest achievement in life.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I'm going to start our second question with you, Bill. And, as a teacher and as a coach, I kind of like this question. But here's your question, and then Wes, you'll respond afterward. Bill, who's your favorite teacher and why? And then what subject did he or she teach?
Oh, my goodness. It's been so long ago. And I have to say, enduring what we endured in that house, I missed a lot of school as a child. And unfortunately, I had to quit school in the 8th grade. And after the death of my mother, and she died 2 months after my grandmother, and then I was on my own. And but I will say, probably there were a handful of teachers that I really liked a lot, that really liked me. So I would have to say probably an English teacher by the name of Miss Dombrowski.
Nice. All right, Wes, you're on the hot seat.
I had a lot of favorite teachers over the years. Most of them, oddly, were English teachers, which you may or may not be able to tell by the way I speak. But I did have one in high school, Mrs. Crum. I always felt like she took a special interest in my, we'll call them talents. Now, she wasn't easy on me by any means. She held my feet to the fire, but she kind of encouraged me to pursue certain avenues of writing and stuff that to this day, although I really think if she read anything that I wrote today, her ears would bleed, because I'm the master of the run-on sentence now. I can go on for days with one sentence, but I'm going to call her out on it. Nice.
All right, we're going to go back to Wes for the third question, and we might not do all five, but we will definitely do at least four. Wes, here's a great question, and I love this. Who would you choose to be marooned on a desert island with?
Oh, well, I probably, if I want to survive the night, I will say my lovely wife, Anita.
You know what? That's good.
That's a good answer.
That's a good choice of answer.
Yeah, look, guys, every morning I wake up and the pillow's under my head and not on top of my face. I count my blessings, so I'm gonna stick on that answer.
I'm gonna be in total agreement with him on that.
Okay, all right. So that was an easy question, I guess. I was, and I am glad I did see it on your face, Wes, and I know I can't see Bill, but I did see it on your face where you had to think a little bit on that question, but that's pretty good. All right, this one's pretty good. Let's see, we'll start with Bill. Would you like to see into the future, and why?
Well, to be honest with you, I just rely on God for everything, and God gives me everything that I am and everything that I have, and sometimes there are prophetic gifts that God gives to me or has given to me. So I just want to continue in that, to have my connection with God as strong as I possibly can have it, so He will have favor on me and will continue to bless me with spiritual discernment and also possibly prophetic gifts as well.
Nice. All right, Wes.
I would like to be able to see into the future, but not real far, just like lottery number far, or don't make this mistake far, that type. In other words, I don't need to know what's going to happen a year, 2 years, 10 years down, and I definitely don't want to know when I'm going to die. Nothing like that. But I could. There would be definite advantages to being able to see even moments into the future. But yeah, 6 hours. I think they still let you buy lottery tickets at like 6 hours. So that's where I'm going to go.
Okay. Wes, I got to throw this out here. Anita's in the Facebook chat, and she's like, I would have said Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, and 10 years ago she would have said Sean Connery. I get that. I get that.
Oh, she did say she was just joking, but I had to throw that in there.
Good.
Once again, the pillow's under my head.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness! All right, since and I'm going to kind of be going back and forth, but I really want to and Wes, chime in at any point because that's really what it's all about. If you have a question tonight on either chats, I am taking a look briefly as much as I can on the Spreaker side of things, and we'll do shout outs at the end and all that sort of stuff. But I want to start off with this because I've had an opportunity to read Bill's book, and I'm going to tell you right now, if you haven't read that book, I would highly recommend it because it really takes him on his journey. And I will say that Bill, I bless you and your family for even having to go through a tenth of that journey. But anyway, so this book is really a true test to the faith of a family. Looking back, Bill, do you think you were chosen then to battle the forces of evil? And when I'm talking about that particular time, I'm talking about that photograph that was taken with you and several spirits in the background.
Yeah, and I really do, Chuck, looking back on it all, I really, honestly, and I'm not saying that any man is better than another man, I'm not saying that at all, but we all have different callings and different gifts in life, and I absolutely believe that God had this plan for me before I came into this world. So, I 100% believe that. And,
I look back at my own, hell, so to say, if you want to, if we want to call it that, a lot of the journey that we've had. Did you battle a little bit with, at times, I'm sure that you felt the calling at times and didn't act on it. And then when you didn't act on it, you suffered some, spiritual retraction or issue. I mean, did you ever experience anything like that?
Well, I just tried to ignore the calling for a long time because I felt unworthy. I thought, God, I'm thinking there's got to be a mistake here. You can't possibly, what do you want from me? You can't possibly, believe that I could go and do these things and be who you want me to be in helping other people. So that held me back for a period of time because, I just kept resisting the call because I didn't feel worthy enough for that. But what I did do was continue in studies of the 66 books of the Bible, the other 534 that were left out, ancient history, ancient religion, you name it, I studied it. And with those studies, because I always felt intellectually inadequate because I had to leave school in the 8th grade after, those passings of my loved ones. And so that held me back for a long period of time. But it wasn't until I started to dedicate myself to studies that I actually broadened and, widened my intellect. And I really praise God again for helping to bless me with His wisdom and knowledge and discernment. So that really, really gave me the confidence. And as my confidence grew, so as my knowledge grew and my confidence grew, that's when I was at a point where I was ready to, answer that call from God and had the confidence and the knowing that it was a true calling and He really was calling me into service to do this. So, once that happened, well, then I never looked back. And it's the greatest thing in life to know what your purpose is. And I'm very, very grateful and thankful to God for that.
And, again, Benji, if you want to ask a question or anything, just feel free to chime in. I can hear you coughing back there, but I really look back at a lot of times when I went toe to toe with the darkness, depending on a person's belief, their spirituality component and their makeup, that it really took me getting really angry and being able to be forceful towards that particular aspect of my life. And I know in your book you talk about that, but can you talk a little bit about your uncle that kind of led you on your path, so to say?
You guys there?
Yeah.
It sounded like you were gone there for a second. I lost you. I'm sorry.
No, it's no problem. Did you did you hear that question at all?
No.
Okay. All right. And it's hard to tell. We look at our spirits and things like that that we encounter, and God is with us. But here's the question: when you look back at when you had your calling, when you really went to bat against this dark force that was attacking not only yourself but your family, and your uncle. Can you share a little bit with our listeners about your uncle and how he kind of changed your life?
Oh, absolutely. God worked through him in a great way to plant those seeds to start with, because my family, my parents believed in God, but we never had any religious structure. We had never attended church as children. We were never baptized, nothing like that. But yet through it all, I always had this blind faith in God, but it wasn't until in 1979 that I had a very important talk with my uncle, which is my dad's oldest brother, my Uncle Cliff. He lives in Florida and was and still is a very devout Christian. And he had told me that, we had power and authority over these things by the power of God in Jesus' name, and that we could take power and authority over these things and bind and cast them out. So I'd never heard of anything like this before, and it was very empowering to me to hear this coming from him. And for the first time in my life, I actually felt empowered and emboldened. And so little did I know that not long after that, I would literally engage in my first battle against these demonic forces in that house. So God knows what he's doing for sure. And he worked through my uncle and gave my uncle those prophetic messages for me in preparation for the battle the first battle that I would engage in against demonic forces in that house in 1979.
For sure. Now, I'm gonna chime over into Wes a little bit, because Wes, you became embrazened in this paranormal. This it's kind of like your spiritual journey. Now, there had to have been a trigger that kind of got you involved in this. I mean, looking back, what do you think that trigger was?
Well, my story on how I got into the paranormal is the most mundane in the world. I watched too much TV. I was watching the paranormal shows, and I kept saying, I can do that, I can do that. But the first time I actually went into the dark building of a night, it overwhelmed me. I mean, I said, this is my place. Then once I was in it a while, things started popping up. First of all, psychics just would absolutely grab me and hug me and say, my God, do you realize what you're gifted? You're gifted. I'm like, no, I'm not gifted. But I was going into places like Bobby Mackey's Music World and, all these places that have different types of activity. And while I was having experiences, the negative stuff was staying away from me. And so I actually got to pursuing that part. What makes me different? I mean, because one night, I had a girl that was spiritually attacked standing right next to me, and I believe it happened. And so that kind of took me on this little spiritual journey where I wanted to learn more about, what it is about me that repels the negative, if you will. And so I can't put my finger on any single thing other than that night that we were on just really semi-public ghost hunt, and a girl that had been doing it quite a while was attacked, and I could not even sense anything in the room with us. It was like I was completely blocked off from the negativity. And so I've kind of pursued that. I've pursued that. And part of what I do now is I actually try to teach people how to protect yourself without doing all the ritualism that a lot of people embrace. I believe that there are a lot of things that we can do that, although Judeo-Christian upbringing. I mean, I believe in God, angels, all that. You know, it's not that I deny all that. I'm just saying I think that connection is a lot closer to people than they realize.
Now, and you know, Bill, you know, you look at you know, how many cases that you're dealing with on a yearly basis, and you know, do you ever get a little bit, you know, or does some of that fear ever come back? I mean, obviously with God, you know, and you utilize that properly, you're in good shape. But have you ever had, you know, either a traveler trying to follow you home from a lot of these darker cases that you've you know, been on in the last couple of years?
No, my brother, never once, and I praise God for it, because when doing this kind of work, you can't have any fear, and so you have to be in what I call warrior mode, which is faith, strength, and courage. And so, like Wes was talking about, some ritualistic things. Now, I have a certain way of going about things, and God is always first in my life. He's first in everything. So, that said, I'm not Catholic. I am non-denomination. So, and I'm not criticizing the Catholic ritual of exorcism or how they go about things, but I go about things in a different way. So for me, the best defense is a strong offense, and if I know that God's with me and for me, then nothing is going to stand against me. So this is how I go about everything in my life. And so I've never had any of those problems, and I praise God for keeping me in his hedge of protection. And so I'm always just careful to give all the thanks and the praise and the glory to God for working through me in this way to help people and for keeping me safe as well. And I've been in some situations you would just have to see to believe. And I mean in the spiritual and in the physical as well. And I've been into places, like I say in the book, that some would run. They would run out of some of those situations. And it's all by the power of God that I'm able to do it.
Yeah, I look back on a couple of my situations, and you know, a few of them I did run, but I eventually had to, you know, come face to face with that. Now, Wes, share with us a little bit about how you protect yourself or other people, or what advice you would give to anybody out there that may be going along this you know, like joining a paranormal group, something like that. And then I want to come back to Bill discussing maybe, you know, are there harms to this paranormal investigative boom that's taking place?
For me, protection. Now, first of all, I do give full credit to my God, my angels. I mean, I don't know where my protection comes from. I do believe that it is something that we learn, or in my case, it was almost inherent, that we funnel through ourselves. So as far as what I do to protect myself, it's mostly visualization and verbalization. I've never had anything follow me home. And it's because when I leave a place, it may sound, I don't do some big fancy prayer. Sometimes I will say a prayer, but most of the time I just say, okay, I'm leaving. This is the end of the line. This is as far as it goes. Now, I have had a few things ride in the car with me. But just like my house, when I got into the paranormal, I established my home through thought and intent as a no-ghost zone. Now, I do not violate that. I don't bring out the paranormal equipment. I don't test my digital recorder. I separate that part of my life. Now, I have had what I believe were spiritual attacks thrown at me, where I crossed people the wrong way, that kind of made it in the door. But, you know, it was nothing that I could not handle, once again, through intent and verbalization. So that's what I teach people. I teach people little ticks, if you will, that they can use to push away bad energy when it's around them. And I guess I am on camera, but one of the first things I tell people is, I said, if you ever feel like something's in your face in a paranormal investigation, or if you just feel bad energy, take your hands, put them up, push it away from you, visualize that, and say the words, "That is not mine." And it's invariably worked for me, and it works for most people that I've talked to.
Now, Bill, just to kind of reiterate, my question that I was looking for. It's become a two-parter, obviously, but I'm curious. What do you think the harms of all these folks that are watching all these paranormal shows and all this sort of stuff, and it's almost a 24/7 gig, and then they go out and they decide to do their own paranormal groups. I mean, can you discuss the harms that would be established with that? And then part two of that question, my friend, is what are like the 3 or 4 main issues that you have to deal with when you have to deal with those particular investigators when they're possessed or oppressed?
Yeah, and I always caution people against these things because there's so much going on around us that people have no clue, and we're in a spiritual battle on a daily basis. So each and every one of us are in our own form of spiritual warfare every day of our life. Most people don't realize this. Most people are asleep. And, a lot of people watch those TV shows and they, either they're seeking a thrill or they think that it's cool or that they, could do that or they should go out and try it. But I always say this, that, be careful what you wish for. And you must be prepared to even go into a situation like that. I mean, to walk into something like that blindly is literally inviting disaster. And Satan and his demons deal in legalities. And if they feel they have a legal right to be there, they will be there, and God will allow it because of our free will. So I always try to caution people against these things. And it's not a sport. It's not something that should be looked at as, a thrill-seeking type of thing or event. It's very, very dangerous. And the devil and his demons can't directly kill a person. I believe that God forbids that. And the reason I say that is because of what Job endured in the book of Job in the Bible. And though they can't directly kill, they certainly can aid and abet and have great influence in the death of someone or pushing a person to the point of suicide. And I deal with some of these types of people that I have God's worked through me to help many people in the paranormal field, who have gone into these types of situations and then they, have these attachments and which could turn into demonic oppression or even demonic possession. And so after this takes place, after God works through me to take these things away, then I become a life coach, we have to put a game plan together for that person in moving forward. And there are a list of do's and don'ts. And certainly on the list of don'ts is, opening doorways that will bring evil back in. Because when a doorway opens and the devil and his demons come back in, they're going to come back in 7 more wicked than the original. So it's going to be much, much worse the second time around. So I just try to caution people. I can't twist anybody's arm to do anything. But what I can do is speak to them from experience. And so a lot of people feel that connection with me because I have been there. So I could be the greatest scholar in the world, but if I've never had the experience, then there would be no way to connect with a victim of things like this. So in order, and I've said this many, many times, in order for me to be where I'm at right now, it was necessary for me to be there as a victim, as an experiencer. So it's all part of the journey. So, in the general realm of dealing with clients that are having these types of problems with, demonic oppression or possession, the most common thread is that they had suffered child molestation or some type of rape or violent crime or something like that. It has to be a traumatic event that opens the door for this, because this is all fear-based, trauma-based. So the devil deals in, certainly, first of all, it's bully tactics, but it's all fear-based, trauma-based tactics, divide and conquer tactics. And so when a person has had a traumatic encounter and they've been exposed to something that is, again, created great fear and trauma, these demons then become attached like a magnet to the pineal gland and the adrenal glands because of the excretions coming out from the level of trauma that the victim is suffering. So, when a violent crime like that is taking place, not only is the perpetrator demon-filled, but the victim, some of these demons will come off onto the victim because of the level of fear and trauma that is drawn up.
For sure. Now, I'm gonna let Mr. Cough guy back there, Benji, just in case there are questions, because we only have 28 minutes left with Bill. I mean, we'll probably go a little bit later here with Wes, but I'll let you shoot away any questions that we might have out there.
Yep, I actually do have a question from YouTube, and it's for both of you, but I want to start with Bill. Shay would like to know both of your opinions on provoking during investigations. Starting with Bill.
Well, I wouldn't do that. I mean, again, my whole thing is I'm coming in as a man of God, a spiritual warrior for God. So I have no interest in communication with any spirit, any demon, or anything else. I'm the one dictating everything. I'm the bully on the block, and it's because of the power of God working through me. So these entities deal in, again, bully tactics. That is how they keep people in fear. So I would never have any kind of dialogue, and believe me, I've had people that were fully possessed that were talking in different voices, trying to communicate, and I would just say, "Silence, you foul demon." So I have to take power and authority over that. You can't have any dialogue with something that's a liar. They're of their father, which is the father of lies. So how in the world are you going to get any type of honest and open dialogue with something like that? So I don't.
Yeah, she goes on to mention that she sees it more and more, but she doesn't understand why people think it's okay. So, Wes, I know you've already kind of shook your head in disgust.
They think it's okay because they see it on TV. Now, I'm going to approach this from a different angle. I'm coming at it from a Southern boy that was raised by his mama to be polite. So if I'm going into investigation and if I'm just looking for ghosts, because I do still do some of the academic, normal grandma's ghost in the attic type investigations, I approach that, and at that point I might be wanting communication because I'm wanting evidence, something that, the stuff you see on TV. But I still approach that as a very respectful Q&A type of thing. Now, when I'm called on a case where I'm dealing with something that has been bothering the people, where I'm dealing with a soul collector or what have you, at that point, actually, I'm very similar to, I don't care about the communication part. Whatever I'm talking to is going to listen to me. Now, that being said, provoking is not what I do. I just puff my chest out. I read the riot act. And any communication is not going to come through the recorder. Now, it might want to tell me its story. Most of the time, I'm not interested. But as from an academic pursuit, from any angle, I cannot think of any instances where provoking is warranted, because no good is going to come of it.
Very good.
Now,
very good.
I'm in total agreement.
Yeah. I should just mention, speaking of provoking, Wes, I don't know if you're logged into the Facebook chat or not, but they seem to be fascinated by your snowy beard.
This is my glorious winter beard. It has about 1 to 2 weeks left, and then it will go the nice little neat goatee type style that I'm known for. But I live on a farm. I'm in the wind, out in the cold air, and from November until spring, I'm not interested. I just
well, if it helps, it is Chris Sutton making comments about your beard.
Oh,
my
glorious winter beard, as I like to call it.
my wife and a few of my students call me Chia Pet because by the end of the day when I'm teaching, it just kind of pops out there. Now, I'm gonna ask Bill this, because this is kind of what I experience, when I do a lot of my aspect, whether we call it spiritual warfare and those sorts of stuff, is visitations. I mean, do you get angelic or other spiritual visitations when you know that something big's coming down the hatch, that you're going to have to jump into it?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely on a regular basis. And also when I'm going to a client's home or business, wherever it is, however they're bringing me in, I ask God, Yahweh, to send 30 of his giant warrior angels to come and encamp around the property and the home or the building, whatever it is, the establishment, and the family members and all that are connected and their pets and everything else. So many times, and including last night, I had to make an appearance in upstate New York last night, and I had several private sessions after the event. And even during that, I'm calling on God's giant warrior angels, and they do manifest. And there have been times that you could see them in their actual form, but there are other times that they'll come in like these balls of light, which will be a very vivid, bright white, or like an Arctic blue, and they'll come in and when they'll just suddenly blink out, and when they blink out, they'll leave like little trails or sparkles behind them, and it's amazing. And I thank God, praise God for that. But yeah, in every instance, wherever I'm at, if I am, going on behalf of God to enter into spiritual warfare to help free a person, then I'm absolutely calling on Yahweh to send his giant warrior angels to come. So yeah.
When was the last time that you physically, or through your third eye, or however we want to call it, seen a demonic or a dark entity?
Oh, well, I mean, that's quite often. I travel around the country every week, and I just got back from Phoenix and helped the family there, and then had to go right to New York. So there are times, many, many times, that when God's working through me to bind and cast this garbage out, that you will see either a dark figure or a dark shadow or a black ball or particles of black, come out and off and away from a person. And many times, especially when the person is demonically oppressed or in some cases fully possessed, you can feel the entities let go. And when the entities let go of the person, they slump. And when they slump, they start to cry, and they have been freed. So, yeah, I mean, quite often.
Now, Wes, do you think that there are certain folks out there, and it wouldn't make any difference, what type of spiritual genre or whatever. Do you think there are certain people out there that are just chosen to continuously battle the evil? And is that why that certain folks out there constantly deal with those particular cases?
Absolutely, I believe that. I believe that some people were like Bill. I believe Bill was chosen, given the gifts he needed to deal with that specific genre, if you will, that he deals with. In my case, I believe that God gave me a unique set of talents, gifts, if you will. But my specialty is the dark human spirits. I have never encountered face to face what I knew was a demon. Just flat out, I'll say it. I have never been sent into a case, however. I've never had a case handed to me that, that had the signs of possession or oppression. So, yes, I believe that there are those of us chosen to be. I fall into the category of, I consider myself a light worker. I deal with energy, so I like the term energy worker, but if you tell people you're an energy worker, they want a massage. So I'll stick with light worker. But
Yeah.
I work through the light of God to deal with a specific problem. And I think that when God decides that I'm ready, he will send his angels to train me to do what I need to do. You asked Bill a little while ago what shows up before a case. When I have a case coming up where I'm dealing with something, my dreams go off the chart, and they're training. They're literally, I believe, my spirit guides and angels put me into boot camp before I go into a case to give me the tricks, if you will, the tricks of the trade, to show me how to use energy in such a way that I can deal with a specific problem that might come up.
Bill, I'm not going to share, a lot about myself because we only have you on here for a short time. And one of these days, I'll just give you a call and we'll chat because I too tend to get into, for whatever reason, I get called into a lot of the darker cases. And, it's one of those things where we're all continuously learning, and that's good. Now, here's a good question for both of you. Ghosts. Okay, there are a lot of religious sects and those sorts of things that think that there's no way that there could be anything like a ghost or a normal person wandering, the astral plane of existence, or the Catholic diocese they call it something different altogether. And if you do believe in like ghosts and normal people walking the earth, why do you suppose that is?
Wes, do you want to go?
I'll go.
Okay.
Basically, as a human species, we are horrible at following instructions. It's that simple. Sure. I believe that the way things are supposed to go, we shed this mortal coil, our loved ones wave at us from the light, we're supposed to go through the light and then into the kingdom of God to be processed however we're to be processed. I'll leave that up to the theologians. I have my own ideas on it, but it's, as I like to tell people, it's above my pay grade. I'm just worried about presenting myself to my Lord in the best way that I can. Now, I do believe that because God gave us free will, there are a few of us that just cannot follow instructions. And it's usually because we're attached to something. We're attached to our beautiful face. We're attached to our home. We're attached to that ugly brooch that, grandma, whatever. But and I do believe that cemeteries tend to collect ghosts because I think a lot of ghosts follow their corpse to the cemetery, watch it go in the ground, and just can't believe it and just refuse because that's my body. So I do believe there are a lot of reasons that people do not follow the light. And that's one of the things that I concentrate on is I think that the farther they get away from the death experience, if you will, the harder it is for a soul to embrace the light. And that's one of the things I do in the field is I try to get them to embrace the light and get the angels to escort them into the afterlife. That's my answer. Yeah,
and biblically, ghost is mentioned a couple times in the Bible, and Jesus himself, when he was walking on the water and they saw him and they panicked, and he told them, "Don't fear, he's not a ghost. It is me. It's not a ghost." So I don't understand that. I truly don't. I don't understand how that works. I certainly believe it's possible, but as Wes said, some things that, maybe we're just not, that wouldn't be my specialty, I guess. And I really don't have an understanding on it. But I do believe that it is real and possible and tangible.
Nice. Now, but I see Benji, there's probably a lot of questions, but I do have one more question. And I'll just say it. Could it be aliens? Yes, we're going to talk about aliens for the next question. Now, when we talk about whether it's interdimensional beings, UFOs, aliens, whatever, why is it that so many of us that that are out there battling, this spiritual warfare, so to say. But we also end up having experiences like that, whether it be a ship flying over top of you, of a haunted location or whatever.
Well, it's because all these things are connected. They're all connected. Yes. People miss the boat on that they're all connected.
Now, yeah, we have a human soul. Okay, mm-hmm. So we're dealing with one thing there. Now, when you get into into the things that are on the other side of the veil, to use the colloquialism, it's a big universe. We share a big universe with a lot of things. And so I don't have an inventory of everything that's over there. So I'm still a little torn on the whole ufology versus interdimensional being thing. But I do believe that one night in my meditation that I don't want to say visited, but I was observed by what I would call a gray alien. And I think that image came to me just to let me know that I was not alone in the universe. So to not narrow my mind, if you will.
For sure. Now, if I don't ask this question, my partner in crime that's coughing in the background will kick me because he's probably forgot that he asked this question anyway. This is for Bill. Benji wants to know what did you do or what can a person do to become an exorcist, register to the same methodology that you used in completing your process?
Well, first of all, it has to be calling from God. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody unless God is strongly calling them. And then, if that's the case, well, some people go to seminary school, and they can get a degree out of there. Some people can do online studies. That's what I did, online studies, and you get a degree from that. But it really, really should be a calling. I would never do such a thing had I not been called from God to do it, because not only is your own life on the line, but you now have the lives of others in the palm of your hand that that you're supposed to be going to as an agent of God. And so you better make sure that it is a true calling from God, and if it is, then just allow God to guide you. And that's what I did, was just God guided me through every step of the way and provided me with everything that I needed in order to become exactly who he wanted me to be and needed to be. And that said as well, I have helped a few people that I felt had that calling, but there are some that I strongly recommended not to do this because I felt that they didn't have that calling.
And wouldn't you say that there's a lot of us that were exorcists even before we became exorcists, so to say?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. And again, that comes down to spiritual discernment, to know that this is what God wants you to be doing. And then it becomes quite natural. But for a person who may be watching these programs or whatever, and I've had many of them, contact me and say, wow, I want to do what you do. I can do what you do. And, it's really cool and all this kind of stuff. They don't have any calling. They're seeing something that looks neat to them, something that could be exciting to them. And so they don't have a true calling, and they're really seriously flirting with disaster.
For sure. Now, I'm going to turn it over to Benji because I'm sure he has other questions, and we only have Bill for about 10 more minutes.
Right, and actually these next couple of questions, the first one is, I'm guessing, mainly directed towards Bill, and I have to apologize. I was doing some things in the background here that y'all can't see, but if this question did get asked, I apologize. It is from Jen in the Spreaker chat. Chuck, you didn't ask her question, did you?
Sorry, no.
Okay. She was curious. Bill, I believe this is mainly directed towards you when we were talking about exorcisms and the removal of demons and spirits and whatnot. Do they only remove with the King James version of scripture, or do they invoke with other methods as well?
Well, first of all, they leave with the power of God. There is no Bible or word or ritual or whatever that has any power. It's the power of God. So we have to invoke the power of God. Now, I do use a King James Bible. but it's really insignificant as far as I'm concerned, because if we're not invoking the power of God, then no matter what you say or do or read, it has no power. The power is coming from God.
Very good, very good. And this one kind of goes along for both of you. This is from the YouTube chat, talking about ghosts, dead people, and whatnot. Do you guys believe that some may not even know that they are dead?
Very darn few. Now, once again, now you get into the whole thing. What is death? I think, therefore I am. So I'm not sure that they always understand death in the same way that you and I might think of death, because they, if you were thinking, death is I'm under the ground and that's the end of it, and then all of a sudden you have this second life, if you will. I can see the confusion, but by and large, I genuinely believe that they know that they died. I'll put it that way. They know they died.
Is that all you got on your end?
Yep, that is everything I have on my end.
Yeah, and I have, I would have to be in agreement with Wes. It's really, I guess, beyond my understanding. He would be more of an expert in that area than me. But, I truly don't understand it. I don't understand how that process works. And until God himself reveals that to me, I'm just really, I really don't have a clear-cut answer on it.
Now I am gonna chime in just a little bit, because I have had a vision of both planes and even more than that, in my dealings with whether it be working cases or whether it be in my own spiritual development. But I have to ask you this, Bill, have you ever been shown what hell actually is and what it looks like and what it feels like?
I have never been shown that. I mean, I've read plenty of things, and I personally have not had the experience of Enoch, to where, God came down and took me to all the different levels of heaven and then showed me that place that is depicted as hell. So that has not happened to me. Who knows? It could happen. God can do anything he wants, but as of now, that has not happened. But I certainly believe that that this place is real, and I do believe that a great and terrible day is coming. And those, and they know who they are, that are on this earth doing wickedness on a daily basis, woe to them is all I can say. We're all guilty of something, and we're all going to stand before God for something. However, I'm talking about the inherently wicked, who make it their mission in each and every day to cause as much pain and suffering for as many as they possibly can. They're in big trouble, and I wouldn't want to be them for 1 second. And I do believe that a great and terrible day is coming sooner than later.
For sure, for sure. Now, I totally lost my frame of thought, because I looked at the Spreaker chat, and I had a really bang up question there for both of you, but it kind of is what it is. Now, here it is. This is for both of you. And Wes, you can go first if you like. Hell, there are so many, perhaps no topic's been discussed more in the last couple thousand years, but we look at hell, and we look at what it's like in the spirituality and the religious component. There are a couple modes of thought. There's the thought of an a burning forever, for to the end of time, and then there's also that thought to where the insanely wicked are just cease to exist. You know what I mean? They are basically ran through the shredder, so to say, when we look at the spirit itself. What do you guys think about that, and what is your belief on that concept of hell?
Actually, I do believe in hell. I have to play this really tight, close to the vest, because I also believe in reincarnation. So in other words, I don't believe that being a jerk to your 7th grade girlfriend is going to get you a park bench next to Hitler in the flames of torment. I do believe that our souls are recycled to bring us closer to what God wants us to be. Now, I believe that, as Bill said, some people, the soul denigrates so much, it devolves, if you will, to the point where if they are a genuinely wicked person, I do believe that God takes them off the assembly line every now and then and sends them to hell. Now, whether hell is the fiery torment described in, I believe that hell is a more personal thing. What Dreams May Come is my favorite movie dealing with the afterlife, heaven, and hell. Hell is whatever your worst nightmare is. If pain and suffering, some people eat up pain and suffering. If in my greatest fear is I hate being alone. So I guarantee you something about if I end up in hell for whatever reason, maybe that 7th grade girlfriend will come back. My hell will involve being alone and the feeling of loneliness. I have no doubt. So I do believe that there is a hell. I just don't believe that there's just this big place that everybody gets the same treatment and, here's a pitchfork, here, go set yourself on fire.
Bill?
Well, again, as I stated, I base this off of, I haven't been shown this, so I can't say for sure. I really don't know. But I have, researched the Book of Enoch, and he's very clear that this place, Sheol, is a very specific place. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know for sure. I don't have the answers. I have not been taken there, so I haven't personally seen it for myself. So we shall see. And I certainly concur with Wes that I think that, and I pray, that Wes will never experience any type of hell whatsoever in any way, shape, or form, and his transgressions will be forgiven him, and so unless God chooses us to take a journey such as that, like He did with Enoch, then we really don't know. So we're just going to have to, and that's where faith comes in. It's really for me. In my life, I try to do the best that I can do, be the best that I can be every day. Am I perfect? No, and I would never claim to be. But I truly try to do my best because I'm committed to God. So if I'm committed to God, I have to be committed to excellence. And in being committed to excellence, I have the attitude that I refuse to lose. Is my life perfect? No, but my life is very good, and it is very blessed, and I'm very thankful for that. And I want to tell you guys before I leave, first of all, I want to thank you again for having me on. It's been a great pleasure. And my voice is shot because I made that appearance last night in New York, and I was there for quite a while. And not only did I speak, but then I had several private sessions after the event. So, and I want to take a moment to give a big thanks to Mara and Christine. They were the event host, and the event took place in Brewster, New York last night, and it was sold out. It was great, and I want to thank everybody for being there. And they're going to book a second event in July, and I look forward to returning there. So, and I also look forward to coming back on with you guys again as well.
For sure, my spiritual brother, and I mean it when I say I love you and I appreciate all that you do. But before you go, be sure that you share where everyone can get a copy of your books.
And I want to thank you, and love and God bless you too, my brother. And thank you so much for taking the time to read The Connection. And I'm really excited about that book because it is the first part of the book is a compilation of the three, and the previous three. And the second part of the book becomes really like an instruction manual. And this is all based on how I live my life and how God works through me in each and every day, and how I do my part as well in maintaining a strong connection with God. So for anyone out there who would like to get a copy of this book or the other books as well, please visit billbean.net, and you can order directly from the site. And for anyone out there who may be in need of spiritual help, don't hesitate to contact me. I'm very busy, but I'm never too busy to help somebody. So same thing, visit billbean.net. you could contact me directly from the site, and we will get back to you within 24 hours of contact.
Amen, brother. Well, again, I really appreciate you coming on, and I know Benji does too.
Well, thank you guys again, and God bless all of you, and I look forward to the next time.
Fantastic, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Okay, my brother.
All right, now Wes. Now that I have you all to my, well, actually I have Benji on here too, so we both can tag team here. And I mean that in as eloquently as a terminology, as I can throw out. There was a question from Dwayne a little bit earlier, and he wants to know, what was your most insane paranormal investigation?
None of mine have been really insane. The most troublesome I ever had was in South Carolina. In dealing with, like I said, dark human-based entities, the one thing I've come up against that I cannot effectively deal with, and it's what I call it. I've come to embrace the term tulpa. It is the basically something that someone has created through intent, mental illness, or even, unfortunately, bad internet spell casting. This particular one, we went in thinking it was just a haunting, and what it was, there was a haunting, but there was this other thing there too that we actually got on audio. Talking, so we know it was there. But when I encounter these, they don't respond because they are a normal bad human spirit. Worst case, they're going to be what we call attached, which means they have found some hole in your aura, if you will, that lets them keep a connection to you, and by tweaking you, they get an emotional response from you that they feed off of. Now, when I say they feed, I think they get their jollies off of it. I don't know that they draw energy that way. A tulpa, on the other hand, is actually a part of you. It is something that you create. So that has been my most troublesome. Now, the most extreme as far as what I did was probably when Wanda Kay ran Bobby Mackey's. I was her paranormal bouncer, if you will. And she had come under, it wasn't so much what was going on at the bar as she had some people that were mad at her. And once again, my discernment was that they had done some really bad internet spellcasting, and I had to deal with some dark entities that were attacking her. But once again, I'm not going to say it was extreme because to me, it was very businesslike. This IAB problem goes away.
Benji, you're going to have to take over for the next few moments. I have to call my mother. She just called, so.
Oh, okay. Cool. I was just getting all the video and everything reset back up since we took off Bill. It kind of threw off how the video looked, so I had to throw up my please stand by screen and get everything set back up again. So I haven't even had a chance to look and see if there's any questions or anything like that. But why don't you go through what when you very first show up to an investigation, what's the first thing that you do when you get there?
Nowadays that I have embraced the spiritual side of it. Now, this was different 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when I was a data collector, when I was doing the paranormal investigations like Ghost Hunters on TV. Nowadays, because I do rely so much on spirituality, on metaphysical stuff, the first thing I usually do when I walk in, and it doesn't play well on TV, on video, is I touch things. I touch the house. I send my energy through the home. I try to draw energy back in. I try to get the home, if you will, to tell me what's going on, to tell me where the activity is, to get a feel for things. So when I go to a place, you'll see me, and I tend to touch wood and stone sometimes steel, but I prefer wood. I'm just, farm boy raised out in the sticks. Natural things feel best to me. So I do that's what I do. I try to tune in on a location, if you will, to kind of guide me to where I'm going to have the best experience. If I'm just ghost hunting, if I'm actually dealing with something, a problem type of spirit, then it's the same process, but I'm doing it for a different reason.
Okay, that's kind of what my team does. I'm part of Ministers of the Haunted, and we have one guy that likes to go in, and the first thing he does is he just goes in and gets a feel for the entire location. I guess I don't know that he goes in because he's always in by himself. He always goes in, very first thing he goes in by himself. And so I don't know exactly what his method is, but I know he goes in there and he just gets a feel for the location and tries to pick up on any energy that he can pick up on while he's in there.
Most people, when they do that, they do a walkthrough. In other words, they'll go, and this room feels so-and-so, this, I concentrate less on that. I will literally just walk in to the foyer of a building and just grab hold of a beam. And in my mind, the way it plays out is little streaks of light point to different areas of the building. And it creates kind of a roadmap in my mind, if you will, on where the activity is. If it goes up, it tells me that the activity's in the attic or in the upstairs or whatever. Sometimes it goes down. Sometimes it just points right or left. But so that's more of the way I approach it from the spiritual pseudo-psychic standpoint. Communication-wise, now I play this little thing where a lot of psychics go in and they open themselves up and to get all the information they can. I keep it at arm's length. I don't mind being told the story, but if part of the entity's story is to make me feel sad or to show me where their pain was or whatever, I want no part of that. In other words, they are not allowed in this body. They're not allowed behind the glorious winter beard, if you will.
There you go. There you go. Oh, hey, look who's back. Chuck decided to join us back up again. Excuse me. Which is probably good because I just cannot keep from coughing, man.
That's good. So I hate to ask any questions, though, that, of anything that I might have missed or whatever. But if you heard that ringing in, it was my mom calling. And I have my phone hooked up to my computer. So I apologize about that, but I'm sorry. But when Mama calls, you gotta call her back. It's one of those things. Now, what did I miss? Because I want to make sure that I don't tackle those questions.
Just basically, I asked him kind of what he does when he first goes into an investigation. Okay.
Now I want to dive into this because Wes, you've been doing this podcasting for quite some time, and I just And again, I really look up to you. And I can remember when you had a cancellation. It was shortly after the first year, and you had me on, and you had no idea who the hell I was and whatever. And I really appreciate, how you handled that. How you handled that interview. But let me ask you this: how many, or let me rephrase it, because there are often times that we have to deal with fakes and frauds in this business. And there are sometimes we get them on the radio. How did you handle that? And what do you think about it? Is as far as frauds and psychic frauds, there are a lot of them.
Okay. First of all, you have to understand how I look at psychics. I believe that the vast majority of the people that I've encountered that claim to be psychic have a gift. Their biggest weakness is they put too much faith in their own gift. In other words, they're not wrong. Now, this is where the reason I know this, that they have different levels of gifts, is because very few of them agree with each other. So somebody's wrong. And if you talk to 100 psychics, get 100 answers, best case scenario, only one of them is right on the money. So so I approach it with an open mind that I treat it like the bank treats it when you make a deposit. I believe you handed me $200. I'm just going to count it, if you don't mind, while you're standing here. So that's the way I approach it. I've not had anybody that has come on as a psychic that I would say was a fraud. Now, I have had several that were way in over their head. Same with paranormal groups. I've talked to a lot of paranormal. I'm one of the few internet radio people that still enjoys talking to Tom, Dick, and Harry, who's stomping around buildings, with their meters in their hands. But at the same time, that's actually been a frustration of mine. One reason I started Paranormal Filler was as an educational process, both for myself and to share what I learned with my listeners. And I don't feel like the field is embracing knowledge. They're embracing technology. They're embracing shortcuts out the wazoo, but they're not embracing the physics of it, the quest for the answers that are verifiable. It's one thing to know there's a God. It's an entirely different thing to have his phone number. And, we've got to move towards getting God's phone number. I'm sorry if that's where the paranormal field needs to move to. I get so frustrated when I hear people say, we may never know. Well, if we may never know, then why the hell are we looking? I do seek knowledge, but a lot of the equipment that's come out that doesn't measure anything, it just tells you something is going on. It is so frustrating to me to see groups going out and using these shortcuts to keep the night from being so boring, because paranormal investigating, by and large, is boring. You're in a dark room. You may be there 6 hours and have 2 or 3 things really happen. But if you've got the right equipment, you'll have blinky lights all night long.
Yeah. I can't argue that at any point or any juncture. I mean, that's kind of the way it is. Now, and this is a good question, because I get so many varying answers and degrees to it. Paranormal Unity, do you think that's a farce? And how can we get past all this animosity?
Okay, I'm going to tell you. I will tell you right now. Paranormal Unity is total bullcrap, but, and I don't know how you feel about curse words on the show, so I'm going to use the word bull.
You're fine. You're fine.
Okay. It's internet radio, I know. Here's the thing. It's not that I'm against the concept, but I'm watching my Facebook feed and I'm having watching people attack each other because they disagree on illegal immigration, because they disagree on Medicaid spending. We cannot agree on discussing. I'm not talking about the solutions. We cannot agree to discuss the things that really matter in our life. How in the hell can we expect someone who embraces a very Judeo-Christian thinking that you die, you go to heaven, to get along with somebody who believes, like I do, that, well, sometimes ghosts don't follow the instructions, to this person over here that believes that the universe is one big hole, that we never die, that, in other words, there's so many, and some people don't. Hey, guess what? Some people in the paranormal field do not believe in ghosts at all. They've not seen data that convinces them. I showed a woman my single best piece of evidence as far as something that was verifiable, that the only way you could say that it was not a paranormal event. Now, we can argue whether it was a ghost, but a paranormal event was to say that I faked it. There is no, oh no, that could be a cat farting in the wind. No, we asked a little girl to say her name, which we knew, to repeat her name, if you will, on a device. We got it clear on a camera that was 10, 15 foot behind us. In other words, she didn't really say it into where we said to say it, but she said it. It's undeniable. It's very, very clear. It was caught on 2 devices. Everyone in the room is on camera. You can see there are no lips moving. Now, I showed that to a skeptic friend of mine who said, how was it? How do we know that you did not project that with your mind into the camera? And I'm like, fine, if I did that, let's pursue that, and I can go on the Today Show next week. But, I'm just saying that a paranormal event happened, and I could not even get her to admit that it was a paranormal event. However you want to define paranormal. So paranormal unity is not a workable concept because of the human experience. The best we can hope for is paranormal civility. And that is what I fought for from day one.
I mean, if we can't agree on a grilled cheese sandwich being delicious, then I don't foresee paranormal unity ever honestly being a thing. You know what I mean? I'm right there with you. I completely agree with the concept of it, but I just don't see it ever happening.
My experience with paranormal unity is our team embraces paranormal unity as long as you agree with us. That has been my overall experience. I'm sorry. I hope someone can prove me wrong, but the experiments in it everyone that I've ever seen have failed because there's always somebody who's a dick.
Chuck. No. I'm kidding.
It's Sir Richard Head to you. Now, I know you had another question.
Oh, well, actually, I have a question. I have a question from myself, not even from anybody out in the audience. Actually, I haven't checked recently to see if they have anything. I told them to type them in all caps. If you have questions, please type your questions in all caps so that I do not miss them, because I am trying to jump between 3 different chats. But at this time, I have a question, Wes. Have you ever had any cases where the clients were there may not have been anything going on there? They were just looking for attention. They were just seeking attention.
Honestly, no. But it's because I really dropped out of doing the house call thing. In other words, the digital recorders, because of some experiences where it wasn't so much I didn't think there was anything going on. You got to understand. This is another reason I quit doing field work as far as going into your house and finding out if your grandmother was stomping around the attic or not. I am a communicator. If there is a ghost to be had, I can communicate with them. I don't consider myself a medium so much as I am. One psychic described it as the voice. She, a psychic I used to work with, now she could hear ghosts. She could get their stories. She could not talk to them. We walked into a place and I started doing my thing. She said, they're listening to you. So now so there's my prejudice, okay? So if I go into your house, I might find a ghost that isn't even there. In other words, I might call one in off of the street, because I do have this ability to break through the veil, if you will. Now, with that being said, my worst experiences on investigations is I have seen people do things that aggravate the activity that they do have. I believe that ghosts are all over the place. If you believe 1 out of 1,000 people stays behind when they die, do the math. A lot of people have died. We're still butt deep in ghost. So, I don't have a big problem with any place having a presence. Now, to me, there is a difference in being haunted and having a presence. We went in one house where there were some reports, and actually all the reports were pretty mundane. And a lot of it I really think was explained by the way their house sat next to the road. When a car would go by, the lights would make a shadow here. And in other words, I didn't put a lot of stock in that. But that night I went in there and I had a couple of full-blown mediums with me. And I did my little dog and pony show. And the next thing, and we did a dowsing rod session. And the next thing you know, we're talking to every dead relative they've had in the last 25 years. Now, at the end of the night, I said, now you all realize we learned nothing tonight. Absolutely nothing, because the level of activity they were reporting had no bearing on the communication we were having. They're not talking, there was enough ghosts in that place to move the bed, based on what we were doing. We had bridged that gap. But when we looked back at the evidence, hard evidence we collected, there really wasn't that much to go on. So I've not had it, and I did have, but if you show up on an investigation and they've got Ghost Adventures playing on the TV when you walk in the door, it's going to be a hell of a night. So I've been to houses that I believe the people brought on the activity, and because there might be a little bit of activity, they think everything. I went to one house, I'm convinced they had a ghost. They were on a trail, if you will, that we believe that spirits were using to travel back and forth. Their house was right on the edge of it. But I mean, everything in their house that happened was a paranormal event. Just like they would hear footsteps in the hallway. I walked up their hallway. They had loose tiles. If a bird farts on the roof, that hallway would pop. Any cooling and warming. So in other words, it's hard to separate the paranormal from the mundane. And once a person is convinced they have paranormal activity in their home, there's really nothing you're going to do that's going to talk them out of it. So that's it's a complicated answer, but I cannot say I've had anybody call me in to their house just to see if they could get a rise out of me.
Wes, do you want to come in my basement?
Why would I want to come in your basement?
I've cookies.
Oh, he's tried to invite me into his I've been in his basement. It's kind of a scary place to be.
Now, the only thing I'll tell you, now here's the problem with me going anywhere, though. If, especially if it's dark activity. Now, I do have a challenge out there to all my psychic friends, because I do not believe in the traditional residual haunt, the memory held by a place. I just do not believe in it. I believe that is a story being told by an intelligent entity. My challenge to psychics are, you find me what you are convinced is a residual haunt, I will come over and introduce you to the ghost. Now, I was not called in, I was actually booked at this one. This was a public event at Bobby Mackey's 2 Halloweens ago. They booked me and an Anglican priest
Nice.
at this event. We went in there, and the tour guides said they have never seen the place quieter. That nobody got anything. A couple of really bad orb photos. I mean, that was the highlight of the evening. Nobody got pushed down the stairs. Nobody got scratched. Nothing happened. And I said, now you realize what you've done. You called in an Anglican priest who does exorcisms. You called in what Mary Ducina, a psychic friend of mine, calls me a soul sheriff. You called in 2 people whose jobs are to shut down paranormal activity. When we walked in the doors, every ghost in that place, and I believe Bobby Mackey's is haunted. We walked in those doors, and every ghost in that place said, I don't know what we did, but shit's going down.
It's like, nope, mic drop. I'm out.
Nope. Yeah.
Now, Bobby Mackey's, have you ever experienced any of those those really dark entities that a lot of people say that it's famous for?
Not directly, because once again, when I go in a place, I gave them a good talking to, and Wanda Kay used to tell me it worked. I would go in when what they call the Ghost Adventures episodes where they went back at places, Aftershocks.
Yeah, Aftershocks,
something like that. Okay, the episode on Bobby Mackey's, the 2 cases that Wanda Kay described to them for that episode, I was called in after both of those events happened. I was kind of disappointed they didn't interview me for the show, but that's another story. I have never encountered anything there that now, is it hiding from me? Bishop James Long says when you go in there, it hides from you. It doesn't want any part of you. You know, it's and only with him, it's not afraid of me. It's he just thinks it's trying to trick me into opening myself up. Whatever. The point is, when I've not encountered any of this dark stuff in there, because when I go in like Bill described. My chest is puffed out. I'm surrounded by my guides and angels, and while I don't challenge it, I let it know that I am not to be trifled with, and it doesn't.
I would kind of call that, with a mutual buddy of ours, Coyote Chris Sutton syndrome, because he does the same stuff.
Yeah, Chris and I are actually preparing a seminar to do at Paracons, talking about our own ways that we protect ourselves and those around us. He does it from a shamanic standpoint. I do it from it's a Judeo-Christian standpoint, my views on it. I just kind of embrace the spiritual along with what I was taught in a little church growing up. I haven't encountered anything in the paranormal that tells me, what I was taught growing up is wrong. It's just I didn't get all the information. I tell everybody the Bible is a set of instructions that comes with your TV. It tells you how to work your TV. It tells you how everything's supposed to work. It even has a little bit of troubleshooting in it. But guess what? When that capacitor in the back goes bad or that tube, there's nothing in that manual to help you out. That's somewhere else. That's information we don't have. And that's the way I feel about the spiritual world when it comes to the Bible. God told us, and at the time, you got to admit, we didn't even know what digital watches were. I mean, we would have really thought that something like that was really, really cool, 1,000 years ago. So it was the stuff in the Bible, I believe, was really dumbed down, told to a very simple people in ways that they could relate to at the time it was told to get them on the right track. It doesn't tell you everything it tells you everything you need to know. It just doesn't tell you everything you want to know.
Yeah, I mean, there are times that I could read a portion of Scripture 8 times and get 8 different variances, each time that I read it.
When I was at Poasttown Elementary, one of the things that came up, William Conkle asked me, he had I'm trying to think who did it, but somebody came in and did he recites the Lord's Prayer backwards, or he recorded the Lord's Prayer backwards, or whatever. And they said, how do you feel about that? And I said, okay, the Lord's Prayer backwards would have no meaning to anybody. First of all, if you want to go back, Jesus wouldn't have said the Lord's Prayer forwards or backwards. Guess why? He was speaking in Aramaic. Okay? In other words, you can't record it and have the same words come out of it. So if you recorded something and you say, that it's saying the Lord's, why didn't it say it in Latin? Why didn't it go back? Did it use the King James Version, or did it use the American Revised Standard? So, that's kind of how I view a lot of the biblical stuff.
Yeah.
The intent is correct.
Yeah, it's always one of those. I mean, the biggest thing in all forms of religion is treat others as you would want to be treated, and your life is going to go well. Reap what you sow.
Yes, absolutely. Most people who seek a spiritual side of the paranormal, I tell them, okay, read the Gospels, then stop. The rest of it will confuse you. The rest of it, a lot of the stuff that Paul wrote, it was to specific churches dealing with specific situations they were encountering that don't have a thing to do with life today. I'll put it this way, I do not believe that a woman will go to hell for having short hair. But he wrote, that was written because some church was having problem, with, women wanting to be too much like men. So much of it was to explain something. And then I think some of it honestly got lost in translation. And I don't mean translation when King James did it or whoever did it. I mean, when the guy wrote it down in the first place. Because assuming it was presented to them in the same way that psychics receive their information, then we're back to that 1 in 100 of them could only be right. And I told somebody the other day, when you're talking about a psychic, you're talking about somebody who is seeing a world that's not their own. They're looking through basically what would amount to a dirty window. Some of it they're going to work out in their mind, to make it work out in a way that they can understand. And I believe a lot of that happens.
For sure. Now, Benji, do we have any questions before I go forward?
Not that I'm seeing anywhere. Hold
okay.
on here. Let me check all 3 fronts here.
I got Spreaker for you. I can handle that, maybe.
Well, I don't know. They're singing Willie Nelson in there. So, on the road again. No.
Well, do you have one?
Nope. I got nothing, right. Man. He's just
now,
covering everything.
I know, it's awesome. I'm going back to, the haunted locations or whatever. Do you think that, Wes, that it's more the person or is it the land that's haunted in most occurrences?
When we're talking about locations, okay, like if we're talking Waverly Hills, I believe it's the land. I believe it's the building. I believe it's the history. When we're talking about the very first case I went on, we decided there were 2 things going on. Her dead husband was dicking around, and a lot of things. He was a dick in life. Guess what? He's still a dick. He loved her, but he was a dick. But they also had reports of the previous landowner. And I believe she was there because this was a woman who had built her dream house. And almost the day it was finished was diagnosed with cancer. And got to live there for just a very, very short time. So I believe she is attached to the area, to the land, to the home. So I don't think there's an easy answer on that. I believe it goes haunting by haunting. Probably when we're talking about residential, though, I do believe most of the time it's the building or the land.
Now, kind of going along with that, you've had the opportunity, over the last few years to visit a lot of, haunted locations. Can you share a couple that really stand out as, hey, man, every time that I come to this particular location, it's going to be haunted, other than Waverly Hills, because
I'm going to give a plug to our own local famous haunted landmark, the Ross Opera House in downtown Cynthiana, Kentucky. It is where I learned to ghost hunt. It was like the ghost took me by the hand and walked me through it. It was now, was that because of who I am? Was that what did they see the light in me that had a greater purpose? I don't know. But I have never been there on a serious ghost hunt that we could not come out of there with some data that we're proud to present. Now, as Brian Cano said, that's a terrible thing to say, because now when you go in there, you're going to, so anything you get, I said, no, you're missing the point. You will get, if you have the equipment there to record it, you will get the famous whistle that's heard. You will get the footsteps that sound like they're coming right up the stairs to you. Something in that place will happen while you're there. I have never been to the place where I didn't get anything unless it was just a big public crowd that was unmanageable, where if a ghost walked up and pecked me on the shoulder on camera, I'd go, no, it was, no, that was somebody, no, too many people. So that is, but the ghosts there are, first of all, there's nothing evil in the building. There is one ghost, which I've heard he's not even there anymore. I haven't been back to look for him, that committed suicide in a downstairs office. He's a jerk, but he's not evil. He's not mean. He just really doesn't want to have any interaction. But the ghost that the place is famous for, They will talk to you. They will talk to you on your ghost box. They will leave you messages on your EVP recorder. We've gotten some pretty good video out of the place that is, I'm not going to say it is the absolute proof of life after death, but it is pretty hard to dismiss.
Now I'm gonna dig in here because obviously we want to support our local establishment, and we haven't used the F word in a couple of episodes. So, Farrar, what was your experience at Farrar?
I did not have anything I would consider a solid ghost experience. Most of I felt things. But as far as, once again, just like the entity that's in the basement that everybody talks about, I believe that the moment I walked in the building, he crawled back in the corner, and that was the end of him for the night. It was a hard place for me to wrap my head around. I felt like there was a lot of, let's say, bad information. In other words, nothing felt clear about the place. I didn't tune in on anything specifically. I did hit on some things. I forget what the quote was, but they said it had happened like a week or two before. But once again, it was vague enough. Who knows? Maybe it was just a lucky guess on my part. So it was one of those places that I felt the activity around me, but for whatever reason, I did not experience it while I was there. So I would not tell anybody that it's the most haunted place in central Iowa. But at the same time, it's I do believe that enough people have had experiences there and collected data there that it is worth doing a serious study on.
Yeah.
Very good. I have someone in Facebook asking your opinion on Hinsdale.
Ooh.
I've not been to Hinsdale. I've seen all the, I've seen some of the stuff they put on, on the net, but I'm not going to sit and watch somebody else's ghost cam. Sorry, it's not going to happen. But once again, it really, like I said, now I've been to several famously haunted locations. I've not been to that many. And so often, depending on what type of haunting it is, because now most of what happens at Farrar, okay, if you believe the psychics and everything, is centered around this dark entity that hangs out in the basement. A person like me goes in, and if that thing does not want to tangle with me, it's going to back off. And I feel like that happens a lot of times when I go to Mansfield Reformatory. I love Mansfield Reformatory. I've not really had any great experiences there other than some things that can be explained by, illusions in the dark. When you're looking down a long corridor in pitch blackness and you see a shadow that, does whatever, is it your eyes adjusting? In other words, even though I embrace the psychic side, I don't even trust what I see, let alone what you see.
Yeah. I mean, that does make sense. And again, it's because we all see, the corridor in variations and those sorts of stuff. Now, do you feel that you got into this paranormal, other than an interest, obviously, but the ultimate square root of all this stuff is to find evidence of an afterlife? Do you think that's why all of us, have become involved in this?
No, because now in life, being a person of faith, I believe there's an afterlife. Yeah. I didn't need it proved to me. When I was in the area of data collection, my thing was, I want to know the mechanics of it, because I don't believe it's in the movie Thor when he says about what you call magic, we call science, or something like that. So I really do believe that there are rules in the universe that all this falls under. And so I have a curiosity about that. Now, when the metaphysical side of it, the spiritual side of it, pulled me away from that data collection, I still want all of this to fit into my little Judeo-Christian thinking brain, if you will. I want to understand it, but I don't have any problem believing it.
And let's dig into this, because it is a little bit risky for certain people, or as far as their own personal beliefs. But I also believe in reincarnation, and the association that we come back time and time again to learn. But there are a lot of folks in there in the Judeo-Christianity point of view that feel that that's totally against the belief.
Okay, here's my view on it. Now, this might be why I end up on a park bench in hell next to Hitler. Who knows?
I might be beside you.
I believe that, first of all, I don't believe that. I think the reason God didn't say, "Hey, don't worry about it, you get another shot," is because once people embrace that, well, it doesn't matter what I do this life, I'll have another and I'll get it right next time. A person that embraces that is always they're going to be a dick in every life. Okay, so I think that's why it was explained the way it was. Now, in the Bible, my understanding is the only thing it says is that you have a soul, and that soul is called into judgment upon your passing. Now, once again, we get back to what is death. If we continue past shedding the mortal coils, then that is not spiritual death. That is just getting rid of the meat suit for the time being. I do not put limits on the God that I worship, so time means nothing to him. In other words, I consider myself a spiritual being that all of my lives together are actually one big storyline to God. And eventually, I'm sure there is a end point, whether I ascend to heaven or whether he takes me off the assembly line and sends me to the park bench. So that's the way I don't. In other words, my views on it don't go against my interpretation of the Bible. Now, it does go against some people's belief, and that's fine. If you embrace that belief and live that way, I don't think you're going to go wrong. In other words, if you're a good person and then you live this life, and even in my viewpoint, if I'm absolutely right, you live your good Christian life, you die, you go before God, and he said, "Hey, want another chance?" And you go, "Well, no, I did so good last time." He's going to go, "Fine, you're done. There's your park bench."
Yeah. Here before we get into towards the end and get to our final thought, I do want to do shout outs. Benji, I'm going to do those on Spreaker, and I'll let you do the others if you can. And if we miss anybody, we apologize. And understand that if we're not live, we can't give you a shout out. Coyote Chris Sutton, okay, and Spreaker, Shay, Candy Orton. Let's see, going through here, Jen with one NB. She had a birthday a day or so ago, too. Luna, Dwayne, I hope I don't say names multiple times here. And again, if I've missed anybody, I apologize. I know Benji's in the chat. Hey, I see Benji too. Looks like that's about it on my end. So, Benji, yeah. I'll let you give shout.
Yeah, you see me, but everybody else is seeing a picture of me because I don't feel like they have to watch me cough every 5 seconds. So, let's go to YouTube. In YouTube, we have Shay, and I think it's Brian's over there. Odd username, but I'm pretty sure it's Brian's over there in YouTube. BPG5012 Trick. Yep. And honestly, that's all that's been chatting anyway over in YouTube, at least for a while. On the Facebook side, we have Will Conkle joined us just a few minutes ago. Chanel Fletcher.
Oh, we were talking about the F word.
Yep. He was a little late for talking about the F word. Chris Sutton's been hanging out watching the Facebook Live video. He's been jumping back and forth between Spreaker and Facebook, I think. I'm supposed to. I don't know if I'm supposed to say anything about it, but here pretty soon, I think I'm going to ask Wes about the paranormal gunslingers. Luna and Heather Larson. I think I said Chanel Fletcher already. Keep on going up. John Goins joined us for a little while. Kelly Steffen. Candy Orton. If I miss you, I am sorry. I can only scroll up so far. I know Matt Bennett was in there for a while. And I can't remember everybody that was there towards the beginning, because I can only scroll up to like the last 50-something comments, and there's well over 180 comments on there on the Facebook chat already. So I apologize if I missed you. And if you have any questions within the last 15 minutes, we're about to wrap it up here in a little bit. If you have any questions, make sure you throw them out there in all caps, and we'll try to get them asked before the end of the day. Why aren't more people attacked spiritually? Okay, there's a question. Why aren't more people attacked spiritually?
I don't know. Why don't more people get mugged when they walk through downtown New York? Not everything spiritual out there wants to attack you. Some of it is perfectly happy being completely left alone. Now, I do believe that when you go into a place, I think there are, in other words, okay, I talk a lot about my gifts. My strongest gift is my aura of protection. I don't believe I'm unique. I believe a lot of people are fairly impervious to spiritual attack. I also believe if you don't acknowledge that you can be spiritually attacked through, that is your intent, and that creates a barrier that will protect you. So there, that's the answer. There's a lot of reasons why more people aren't spiritually attacked, and a lot of it has to do with the people.
Okay, I do have a very serious question that popped up, but that is an excellent answer for that one. Will Conkle asked a question in Facebook, so this tells you how serious it is. How does a guy get a sexy beard that looks like that beautiful man's?
Stop shaving. Good genetics, although I did like it better when it was the same color as my hair. Which, although now my hair is changing to the color of the beard, so, but I mentioned it earlier, 1st of November, during No Shave November, I get a good start, and then as the winter goes on, I do shape it a little bit, but yeah, you just have to say screw it, and I'm going to grow a beard. That's how you do it, boys.
Okay, well, Jen B wants you to say aura again because she loves your accent.
Aura.
Nice.
I don't know.
Sounds like he's roaring. Roara. Anyway. It's all good. As we near kind of the end here, share everybody some of your most great experiences doing paranormal filler, because you did mention earlier on you're going to kind of retire that and just focus on Scarefest Radio. I
officially announced it Friday night on Scarefest Radio. Scarefest Radio has offered to, I hate to use the word buyout because that implies they actually handed me a pile of money, but they have offered to absorb paranormal filler and have me put the resources that I was putting into that into Scarefest Radio, and then they will come back. They actually offered to build me a studio that I didn't want to drive to, so I said, let's take it a little bit slower than that. But paranormal filler, other than possibly a farewell episode, is going to go on indefinite hiatus. It's been a good run. It's still a very popular show, but it's just it is getting lost in a sea of paranormal podcast. And I don't feel that same reason I got out of doing field work. I didn't feel that I was contributing to the field recording EVPs all night. I didn't feel like I was doing anything that anybody else wasn't doing. So now paranormal filler has kind of hit that level where there are people out there doing it as well as I do, doing it better than I do, although there's a lot of popular shows that don't do as well as me. That being said, so I decided it's one of those, why not, while it's still a good show, let's go ahead and call it quits on it and put my energy into Scarefest Radio, where I will have some resources behind me. And honestly, on Scarefest Radio, I get to have a lot of fun, because I don't take myself nearly as seriously on Scarefest Radio. So that, and I have co-hosts that do take it seriously. So like we can have a guest, like we can have Bill Bean on there, and I can be a total smartass, and then have the co-host ask the important questions, and I'm asking him about what color socks he likes and stuff like that. So I'm still active in the paranormal field. I'm still waiting for God's call to tell me what I need, what the next step in my spiritual progression is. But Paranormal Filler is going on hiatus. Now, as far as the best experiences I've had on it, I've had so many. I want to say that one of my best experiences, anytime a famous person, you have them on the show, and then they contact you out of the blue 6 months later and say, I want to come back on your show. Nice. That is the ultimate, and Dustin Perry comes to mind. He's been on my show 3 or 4 times, and the first time I invited him, the other 2 times, he sent me a text and said, hey, dude, we need to get back together and talk. Things like that. Kim Russo was a great guest. We still keep in touch. So I'd say the friendships I've made, and I will admit it, the friendships I've made with some people that are famous. Now, it's not because they're famous. I have great respect for the people that have made themselves famous in this field, because I cannot think of anything better than being paid for what you love doing.
Sure.
And I'm sorry, you may not like the stars of a certain TV show. You may not like the way they do something, and I don't always like the way they do something. But to be in this business and be successful, I do believe that you have to have a fire in your belly for the paranormal that is not common.
You know, Benji, I have to dig in there, because this is what I love about Wes, and all Wes is about is because he's humble, and I only hope, my friend, that I pass on, you know, the same stuff, because, you know, and again, I have a plethora of respect for you. I appreciate all that you do, and I'm a huge fan. You know, we call each other friends, but I'm still a fan, if that makes any sense.
Some of my best friendships have started out with fans. Chris Sutton
is, yeah. I love that guy.
Actually, he was a fan. He came into my life because he was retweeting me, and he became my fan of the week one week when I was doing fan of the week, and we just hit it off. We met at Scarefest, I guess, met in person for the first time, and we just became big friends. And so that's, I'll even throw him into my highlight reel of Paranormal Filler. He's probably been on the show more than anybody else, because he comes on and does what we call the Shamanigans segment, where he talks shaman stuff, and I ask stupid questions and smart off. But he's been a great influence on my life, and he's been a good friend. And we are trying to get to where we're in a position to actually work on real cases together, versus just doing a few public ghost hunts together.
For sure, and I have to give him a special shout out too, because we're going to be involved in a few events coming up, and you know, throughout the summer. June 16th, check out. I'm sorry, I gave you the wrong. June 9th. Be sure you come down to the Mineral Springs Hotel in Alton, Illinois. Good grief, I'm thinking Iowa, but check that out. Coyote Chris is going to be there. Mike Ricksecker, Shauna, Vanessa, all that great group's going to be there on June 9th. I'm also going to be I'm not speaking, but Coyote Chris is going to be at Farrar on the 29th and 30th. You're going to want to check that out. It's going to be an amazing, study hall with Will and Jacqueline Conklin and all that sort of stuff. That's going to be amazing. And to highlight out the towards the middle of the summer there, July 14th, Coyote Chris and I are going to be doing a wonderful one-day event at the Hinsdale with Dan Class on July 14th. So I have a busy summer with Chris, and I'm excited about it, and I'm sending him out, all those good plugs. So anyway, I had to throw that out there.
I need to plug March 24th.
Yes.
I'll be in Alton, Illinois at the Mineral Springs with Cody Chris Sutton and the lovely, lovely Elizabeth Saint of Ghost of Shepherdstown, and also Ghost Crier Boys. So if you want to see me in my full psychic glory, and I may still have the winter beard. I have not decided whether or not to lose it before I go up there. But that's coming up. CodyChrisNow.com. CodyChrisNow.com for details.
And he said CoyoteChrisNow.com. Benji, I want you and your sexy voice, your coughing sexy voice, to let everybody know what our show lineup is on the Beyond the Light Radio Network.
Well, actually, knowing that you were going to ask me to do that, I actually pre-recorded that, so I'm going to play that role. You guys aren't going to be able to hear it. I'm sorry, but I will cue you back in when I'm done playing that. I'm going to go ahead and play that. I'm even going to play it with a little bit of musical background.
Nice.
Here's a quick look at everything Beyond the Light Network has to offer. The first and third Mondays of the month, Haruko with Brittany Benjagurtis, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. The second and fourth Mondays of the month, Beyond the Light Paranormal Talk with Benji, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. Tuesdays, The Edge of the Rabbit Hole with Mike Ricksecker, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, 6:30 Pacific. Wednesdays, Experiences Within the Light with Candy Orton, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, 4:30 Pacific. Thursdays, Introspection with Matt Bennett, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, 6:30 Pacific. Fridays, Dark Knight Paranormal with Dwayne Holmes, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 6 Pacific. Saturdays, Psychic Divination Hour with Psychic Jen B, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. Following Psychic Divination Hour, Dark Knight Paranormal with Dwayne Holmes, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, 6:30 Pacific. And Sunday, At the End of the Day with Chuck and Benji, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. If you have any questions or would like information regarding any of our shows, visit our website at BeyondTheLightNetwork.com or email us at info@BeyondTheLightNetwork.com. Listen live from the BeyondTheLightNetwork.com shows tab. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter.
All right, so there you go. That's our show lineup for the week. I hope I didn't miss anything in there while it was going. So, Chuck, you are back on.
All right, I didn't know what he was going to do with that. I thought he was going to lick it like an ice cream cone. I didn't know for sure. But anyway, at the end of the day, you've been a part of us, and we're going to go to the final thoughts for the show. Wes, again, I want to say this. I really appreciate you coming on, my friend, and I hope that we can do an event sometime down the road.
I'm easy to book.
Hey, I noticed Wes joined us in Facebook tonight. I just
Really?
want to give a quick shout out to Wes because he joined us in Facebook. No.
Well, all right, Wes, give everybody a final thought, and also where you can be reached if anybody cares to follow you here, and I hope they do. And definitely check out on Friday nights. Is your show. Be sure you let everybody know where they can hear that as well.
Well, my Friday night show, which has been going on for a while, like I said, it just kind of overwhelmed the Sunday night show, is Scarefest Radio. You can find it at scarefestradio.com. You can still, I'm not decided what I'm going to do with paranormalfiller.com. I'm using it right now. About the only thing going up after the show. I might have to use that for my really bad tarot readings. That's about the only thing I've got to go on that. But friend me on Facebook, find me on Twitter. I don't do a lot on Twitter anymore. I just, it's mostly spam. But I am on Facebook, Wes Forsythe. And there's probably some dumbass number behind it, but I'm pretty easy to find.
Excellent. Well, all right, Benji, you want to go with your final thought of the week?
Oh, really? Something I've been doing for the past few days. I just decided to take a look at some different things going on and seeing how many of my friends and family feel like they are basically at their wits' end. I've hit up some of my friends on the GoFundMe pages they have for certain things, Facebook pages. I haven't been able to donate a lot to them, but I did feel like I had enough that I was able to donate something to them. Just if you have any friends, family, or even just a random stranger, sometimes just buying a meal for a random stranger, just random acts of kindness. Random acts of kindness are a wonderful thing. If you have the opportunity, and everybody does at some point in time throughout the day, you just have to notice it. You just have to take notice. Random acts of kindness can truly change a person's life. So if you have that ability, if you notice, please take the initiative. That's what I have for today.
I love that. I love that. I just want to let everybody know my final thought of the day is to let everybody know that if you ever get down in the dumps or you feel like no one cares, we care. We love you. And we definitely appreciate all of you. And next week at the end of the day, we have Jason Kupsek on. Be sure you check that show out. Follow us at all of our facets. We appreciate you. Love you and good night.